Hello, everybody. I'm going live 15 seconds early because I'm simply just waiting here. I didn't want to wait. Yeah, that's where I'm at. Welcome to the Ponderings of Pete. I am the aforementioned Pete. As you can tell, I have a label down on the other side over there, just so you don't forget. What else do you need to know? This is my half year wrap up ish type of deal. I'm going to be tier ranking all of the books I read in the last 6 months of the year. If you're looking for the first half of that video, I will eventually link it down below. We'll see. I shamelessly stole this idea from my friend Evie. She was only Evie. She literally has already recorded hers and all that other jazz because I know things. But I just thought it was better to do this and do it live because it's easier for me to not edit 6 months, or 6 months of videos right now. Yes, of course. Yes, of course. Riding your coattails, Evie. I'm assuming Carlos. But I thought I saw. Never mind. Okay. Hello. So hello to everybody. I thought about doing this for the entire year, but 6 months is just a nice thing. Slice. There we go. We're gonna go with slice. Happy New Year. I should understand what this means because I've heard this word before. You'll see. You'll see what it is. So let's do this tier list. Oh, cool. That makes sense. That makes sense. Exactly. Live is always so much more fun because I can be talking to other people that are in the camera because you are in the camera. You are all fictions of my imagination. So let's talk about the books that are that way. Nope, that way. That way. Third time's the charm. Let me go over here. I can do this, and I have a mouse, and everything is great. There we go. So I read a total of 23 books. Do you want more stats? Because I don't got them. That's all you get. Let's just kick this thing off. And thank you for everybody for just being here. It'll be interesting to see how I can go. Whatever. I don't know why it was, on mute, Anita. That sounds like a personal problem. So let's start with Dawn of Yang Chen. So this is an Avatar: The Last Airbender book. I read 3 of these in total in the last year. 2 of them I did in my first 6 months wrap up, which were the Avatar Kyoshi books. This is the third one, but it's kind of its own. It kind of starts the 2 duology wind up. Basically, what I think they're doing is they're just doing a bunch of duologies of different avatars. So you have the 2 books for Avatar Kyoshi, which I really liked, and I wanted more of Avatar Kyoshi, but who knows? They might. Are they doing a TV series for Avatar Kyoshi? I think that would work because I think there's still a lot of story to tell for her. Then we have Yang Chen. So Yang Chen is the Avatar 2 avatars before Kyoshi, who is the Avatar before Roku. So yeah. And yeah, I like this, but Avatar Kyoshi was solely from Avatar Kyoshi's perspective. And this was not. This was a multi POV thing, and I came to this book for Avatar Yang Chen. And especially because Avatar the Kyoshi books kind of built up Yang Chen as like, oh my gosh, she's done so many things, and we were like, oh cool, we're gonna get to know Yang Chen. And we kind of did, but because it was kind of split in half between her, and then one of her companions' POVs, I kind of like some of the things that they're doing, but not all of them. I do think that this book does a good job of trying to show the world how it changes, or how the world has been situationally different before Avatar's, for Aang's time. And yeah, that's kind of it. It's the world is kind of slightly different, right? There's these cities that are kind of trade go-betweens between the different kingdoms, because the kingdoms aren't speaking to each other because there was some big conspiracy to overthrow one of them, and then they're just like, well, we can't have that, so we're just not going to talk to each other. So now there are these economic trade sanctioned go-betweens between the different that siphon all the trade through, and there's some interesting stuff there. it just, I feel like they didn't do a lot of it, do a lot with it, if that makes any sense. So, yeah, it is not. Where are we at? Yeah, it is an Anitha problem. Hey, Chadia. Um, they look like only 10. I don't know what. Yes, it is not Spirit Stallion of the Cimarron. Cimarron. It is not. You. We shall see, Anitha. Yang Chen was cool. Yeah, yeah. That is the good thing that they did, but I just wanted more of Yang Chen's perspective. That was my big thing. All right. So next up we have. You can't see the name because I chose square icons, but this is KJ Parker, Colors in the Steel. So, for those of you who know, that KJ Parker is a favorite author of mine. That I read a bunch of. I read a bunch of these with Evie, Anitha, Alan specifically, who is the head honcho of KJ Parker, and we are reading the Fencer trilogy. So Colors in the Steel is the first one, Belly of the Bow, which is right here, is the second one, and then Proof House will be read this month at some point. So Colors in the Steel. I like this more. Do I want to put this in Big Feelings? Did I have Big Feelings? We'll put this in Big Feelings for now. It might be top of Warm Fuzzies. I'm not sure. But KJ Parker. So I'll get to this. I promise. So, Mercy of the Gods is later. Where is it at? It's somewhere down the line. Let's go back to Colors in the Steel. So, first book in the Fencer trilogy, it has a siege in it, a KJ Parker siege. So you know it's going to be good just because of the siege. We have competent characters. We have a fencer at law who isn't a fencer at law for the entire book. Spoilers. Which is kind of one of the things which is like, could there be more fencing in this book? Yes, I would like more fencing in this book. This book had a lot of things going on. It was not as focused as some of Parker's future books, but I still had a lot of fun with it. I kind of just sit there and just go with the vibes on Parker books and just go with the flow, because half the time I'm like, I'm not sure what's gonna happen. It is what it is, and I'm just here to watch the characters be competent or burn everything alive, because that happens. And I was not disappointed. There's a siege. There's our good old man Temrai, who is the person sieging this city, in which our main character, I almost said Basso, but Bardis, is in as a fencer at law. Temrai is great. Temrai comes back eventually in book 3, hopefully, so we'll get more of that. It's gonna be great. But yeah, Colors of the Steel. It's KJ Parker. Nobody cares about KJ Parker, evidently. But yeah. Next up, we have a Star Wars book. The one Star Wars book of the year, Heir to the Empire, by Timothy Zahn. So this is a reread, and I'm going to put it here. It's been so long, I figured it would be appropriate to put on this. And here's the funny thing about this book. I did not remember any of this. Everything that I remember about this series comes from books 2 and 3. This book is a setup book, very much a setup book, very much an introductory book to a bunch of the new characters that Zahn is setting up. The big stuff all happens in 2 and 3. The stuff that people remember, 2 and 3. So I was like, wow, it's kind of like reading this for the first time because I forgot everything. I'm going to put this in nothing significant because I was just like, yeah, it's there. It's cool. It's having fun. See, Anitha's on the tier list hype train. Yeah. Evie, Evie is a hater. I'm not a hater. I'm just oh, cool. That was fun. It's true. Evie is the big trendsetter here. But yeah, Heir to the Empire. It was fun, but I don't really have like anything significant like to say about it. Next up, we have Hills of Heather and Bone by K.E. Andrews. So this is a self-pub book. This is about a, I will say, a necromancer and her husband, who is a healer, among other things. So like, there's different like different things of power, different types of powers. Of course, her husband has two. She has one, but she's primarily a. I think they're called bone callers. I could be wrong. I could be taking that from Sea of Thieves, but it's bone something. It's a necromancy term that I forgot. And this is a really fun, like, I say fun and it's traumatic, but it's a really fun exploration of their relationship, of perceptions of necromancy in a fantasy world, right? It's not, I say necromancy, it's more like control of bones, and then there's a huge element of memory to this magic as well, right? Of remembering the dead and remembering and being able to connect with what they remember. And there's this, of course, there's the normal perceptions of, oh my gosh, necromancy bad. And that conflict with her perception of the power, which is a very positive perception of it, because of what she knows about it. And of course, they are on the run the entire book. This is very, very emotionally like hard book to get through, right? Because the main character is dealing with the, emotional after effects of having had a miscarriage. And then there's a bunch of other stuff going along with that around her and her husband's relationship. I really enjoyed this one. I'm going to put it definitely above that. I am going to move this down here. But Hills of Heather and Bone, definitely their big feelings. I'm not sure if it hit the highs of some of the new favorites yet, but I tend to be very stingy about putting them into that new favorite, whatever. See, thank you. I appreciate it. Next up, we have another Le Guin. I say another because of those of you that were here for my last tier list. Remember the Dispossessed. It was no surprise where that was, and we're just going to put this there. But it's Le Guin right now, so I'm on a Le Guin high with some of her stuff. And the word for world is forest was great. It was so great. This is a novella about a dude that could belong on a racist Facebook page. This is about these natives to this world where humans have come and they're, harvesting the world for wood, right? Because the entire world or the entire habitable land is covered in a forest. And that's where that kind of title comes from, because the natives, they do not have any, their word for world is forest, quite literally. It's the title. They don't have any concept of a world that does not have a forest in it. And there's some interconnected stuff with that, with language, that's really cool. There are 3 POVs. One, you have one of the natives. You have the racist Facebook group guy, and you have a scientist, right? And this is like 3 different like sides of it all. So you have the natives that are being exploited, you have the dude that's doing the exploiting, and then you have a scientist that wants to understand the natives and work with the natives, right? So caught between the 2 worlds type of deal. And I thought it was great. I thought it was really good. I think Kyle, from Read by Kyle, really compared it to just Avatar with the blue people. And I understand that, but this predates that, so Avatar can suck it. I think this is really powerful. I think this is a good introductory, from the limited amount of Le Guin sci-fi that I've read. I think this is a great introduction to her sci-fi. There's a little bit of anger in there. There's a little bit of just like, hey, maybe we shouldn't do this. But it does happen in the same universe as the Dispossessed, right? But in the sense that the technology that was created in the Dispossessed affects this world. And that's the Ansible, if you know what that is. Rogue, funny thing, guess what I just finished? The Tombs of Atuan. So, working on it. What? Alleged fantasy romance? Anita, be quiet. I'm glad. I'm glad. I'm glad. What is like? I wanna know what this is, Evie. You need to tell me what this is. And we're gonna go on. All right, cool. So we're gonna go on to The Magicians by Lev Grossman. So I had a fun time with this. I was really immersed in the story. I think that there's some things in the story that I didn't notice when I read it. Right, that I kind of just rolled my eyes and rolled on, and moved on with this. So I had a good time with the story. So we'll put it here. I think I've soured on it a little bit since I've read it, just because it hasn't sat well with me. It's very much just a like it's kind of like adult Harry Potter. I think some of the things that I enjoyed about it is it kind of screams about some of the issues I had with Harry Potter. It tries to address some of those, some of the world building issues, and that's one of the ways that I was immersed in it. It's also like depressed, very unlikable main character, and yeah, I'm not selling it well, but it is what it is. Yeah, basically, I think it was on your India trip is when I read it. I read it with Genghis Khan. Yep. Yeah, Ben. Yeah, this is the sci-fi show. I think I started watching the sci-fi show as well after I read it. I think I got 2 episodes in because it was kind of massacring the storyline as much as it was, and I shouldn't have expected anything more. Like everything was happening in a weird way, and the relationships were developing in a weird way, and I was like, "What? Okay." Even though I've watched the first season before, and I don't remember feeling that way about the first season when I watched it the first time. I don't know. Um, oh, the okay. I'll have to look into this. The Le Guin Fantasy Romance. All right, Mercy of Gods. Bada, bada, bada. Where do I want to put Mercy of Gods? So I foresee this going in the top tier when the series ends, because I have a lot of trust in Daniel Abraham, part of James S. A. Corey. So, Mercy of Gods, what's it about? Somebody who is reading The Expanse, do not expect it to be in The Expanse, please. It is not. There's so many reviews that are just like, it's not The Expanse, and it's like, no, duh. And this is like the typical thing that authors deal with, the fact that they're just like, ah, yeah, I can't retain people because they don't want to read anything except the one series they read. That's a thing. That is a thing that authors sometimes have to deal with. But yeah, so Mercy of Gods, let's sell it. It's about a group of researchers, a bunch of nerds, who are conquered, right, by an alien race, and then taken to this alien planet and said, hey, make yourself useful. And they have to figure out what that means. And there's a bunch of other races around them that are also told, make yourself useful. And their value is measured by how useful they are. And I think it's a like there's bits and pieces of it. There's a POV my favorite POV is the alien POV that is not the conquering race POV, but there's one other alien POV that I really really like, and I blame Tchaikovsky for making me like alien POVs. And the interplay between this large cast of researchers, I think there's like 7, is really fun, and all their insecurities that they're dealing with. It's very much focused on how they deal with the trauma of being conquered, essentially kidnapped, and taken to this place where they're told to, hey, just do what you've trained to do, but for us. And the different ways that the people deal with it. Some of them deal with it by like, I would say disassociate. No, disassociate isn't the right word, but like externalizing and just being like, okay, cool, let's go look at the world around us and investigate it. Some of them just buckle down, like, all right, cool, we're gonna get this done. and some of them are just dealing with other things that because of the them being kidnapped and everything like that, those things take on an even bigger significance to them, whether it's, because it has to, or just because it's petty and, you know, they need something familiar to focus on. Yeah, very much character focused, and I'm really interested in seeing where the rest of this series goes. From what I've heard, it's based on roughly around the book of Daniel in the Bible, which is an interesting concept, and I can see where he's getting the inspirations there. If this follows the way I think it does, then it's going to be really interesting. So that was a lot of fun. It is. It is. And yeah, Rogue, you do. Better than Expanse. So, Chadia, I can't answer this question because The Expanse is 9 books and this is one. I can't. There isn't. There isn't a comparison because there's so much more time you have with the characters in The Expanse. Is it better than the first book? If I was comparing just the first book of The Expanse and the first book of Mercy of Gods, I liked Mercy of Gods better because it plays to very specific things that I really like. I think The Expanse probably will work for more people better because there's a lot. If that makes any sense, I feel like it's easier for the common man to get into some of the stuff in Leviathan Wakes than it is in the Mercy of Gods. So reviews for Mercy of Gods came across as whiny. Absolutely, like it's so frustrating, and it's what is God, I had half a thought and now it's gone. Anyways, um, yeah, that means that basically all of the ratings for the rest of the trilogy is I know it's supposed to be a trilogy, but the rest of the trilogy ratings are just gonna be so much higher because all the people that thought, oh, it's gonna be The Expanse, are just gonna leave. Yeah, they're very much very different series in terms of just pacing and thrust, I guess. I don't know. It's Expanse starts off a lot more explosively too. Well, no, there's a bit of explosiveness here, and then it like winds down and then gets to the researching, and then this one, and then Expanse is very much just like chilling explosiveness, and then keeps being, and then also like the two storylines, one being the detective plotline, the other being the Holden and crew plotline. It's just such a different dynamic, right? There's definitely an essence of what James S. A. The duo known as James S. A. Corey with Abraham and Ty Frank like to do, in that they like to have like these very character focused storylines, right? Because The Expanse is absolutely a character focused series, in my opinion, but the plots surrounding the two of them are just so vastly different. So next up, we have Belly of the Freaking Bow, and this is gonna go up here. Mercy of Gods or Belly of the Bow? We'll go with Mercy of Gods is above. Belly of the Bow, second book in the Fencer trilogy. So the ending of this book was wild. I think that KJ Parker, much like Daniel Abraham, when you allow him to build things up in a series to a crescendo, he will punch you and you're just like, oh my gosh, the rest of this book was so much more worth it and so much more meaningful because I know what this was all leading up to. Like you're trudging up this long flight of steps and you're like, okay, cool. And you can be either like going with the flow like I was, like, okay, cool. Petty people, confident people, there's a war going on. Hey, strategy, that's cool. Oh, you're teaching us to build a bow. That's awesome. And then you get to the end and he just punches you in the face and you're like, what? That was amazing. That was Belly of the Bow. So I think after saying that, actually, this does belong above Mercy of Gods, because I don't feel like I got punched in the face with Mercy of Gods. No. Like a bow and arrow. Like he teaches you how to make a bow in this book. It is so great. Um, yep, it's true. Stupid belly of the stupid bow, but it was great. Oh my gosh. How's it going, Shad? I'm working on it. Yeah, it's great. And also, in if you are in Alan's Discord, I made pictures so that that Anitha here could read the stupid belly of the stupid bow faster. Um, oh, did I just start yelling into the mic or something? Sorry. Getting closer to the mic. Sorry, apologies. Um, I have to work on that. So let's talk about the next one. Go read KJ Parker, people. Way of a Dawn. So I read this on audio. I have not read a lot of audiobooks. I have read exactly one other audiobook beyond this. Actually, no, more than one now. Because I read Ahsoka ages and ages ago on audiobook. And then I read a nonfiction book recently on audiobook as well. Wave it on. Where was this? We're going to put this in slightly warm fuzzies. So, Way of a Dawn was a good book. What I really liked about it was Alan's narration. Alan was fantastic in this narration. Um, I just we'll get back to the loose crackling. It's probably because I just went too close to the mic and was yelling at it for a hot second. Maybe. We'll see. Hopefully not with the rest of the loose crackling. So, Way of It On. This book is not normally a book that I would immediately picked up. It wasn't something that like I liked it, but it's not something that's always going to rise to the top of my TBR. I do think that Alan's narration elevated the experience for me 100%, and yeah, that's that. I think it's very much a traditional fantasy story. There are some frustrating coming of age characters. There are some interesting characters, and then Alan voices them all, which is fantastic. Like I can't like not talk about how fantastic Alan's narration of this book was. Like it, oof, it was great. So going back to the comments, which KJ Parker series should I start? I have Korax and 16 Ways to Defend the Walled City. Korax might be a solid place to start. Gets you into a little bit some of his first person narration, his first person points of view. I'm not sure about 16 Ways to Defend a Walled City though. I do think that you need to try both a first person and a third person if you're going to do that though, because they are very different. I feel like his first persons are much more deliberately humorous, if that makes any sense, especially Savius Korax. So if you do start with Savior's Corax, you should also start with one of the three like standalones that we also, well, two, I guess, the Folding Knife or the Company. I think the Folding Knife is really the big one that we usually recommend. So Star Wars should always be done in audio. Interesting. I've never done them on, well, I've done them once. You hear the crackling too. You should definitely read both of those. I think once you should read The Company next and then The Hammer. The Company is my favorite of them all. Bengus, then you will love Way of It On. Yeah, so, yep. So he has a lot of short stories that are first person, but you definitely, like, if you don't like his first person narration, absolutely try the third person because they are a lot different for Parker. So, what is next? We got the first Terry Pratchett with Nation. So, Nation. Was this warm fuzzies or was this big feelings? I would put it in big feelings. No. Okay, I'm putting it there. So I'm not always a huge coming of age person, and that's probably why I put it there. I think the probably my favorite coming of age story is probably something Wicked This Way Comes, and that's because there's a very unique dynamic between the father and the son, and the father doing his own thing. That's the adult characters again, something that I'll identify with more. That being said, Nation was an excellent coming of age story, right? We have two stranded teenagers, a boy and a girl, one who is from this native population and who was on his way back from becoming a man. And you have this girl from England who is stranded when her boat literally flies over the island as a result of this tidal wave and crashes on the island. They are the boy is the only survivor of his village, and the girl is the only survivor of the boat. And as she was on it, and this was a really interesting discussion of like belief and building your village around you and how to deal with that in the midst of trauma, dealing with this trauma of this tsunami that just swept over the entirety of your place. Dealing with being in from the girl's perspective, you have dealing with new places and being in just a completely strange place, and of course figuring out the language and stuff like that, and just growing into your own. That was really touching. I did really like this one. Oh yeah. So interesting, Matt. I don't remind me. Have you read any of his third person with like folding knife and stuff? If I remember correctly, you have. Oh yeah. I'm not surprised. Yes, Nation was great. Shameless self plug of the discussion. So it was on Evie's channel. I will do my best to remember to link it down below. But Evie, K Fox, and I think it was just us three. If I'm forgetting the fourth, I'm so sorry. Because my brain is always telling me there has to be four people in the discussion. But so we have that's on Evie's channel. We had an excellent discussion, a lot of fun. Next up, we have another Terry Pratchett. We have is this Jingo? Is this? This is Jingo. This is Jingo. So Jingo, we're gonna put slightly above Nation. Jingo was a lot of fun. This is about. This is the fourth book. Yeah, this is the fourth book in the City Watch books. I yeah, I just really like. We'll just do this Feet of Clay and Jingo right here. We'll put Feet of Clay up there. So 3 and 4 of City Watch. So Feet of Clay is about golems and what it means to be a person and some other stuff, as well as just the City Watch doing City Watch things. And there's a conspiracy, and the plot is probably kind of fading in my head, which makes the reread so much better for these books. And Jingo is about there's a war because there is an island that has risen up in the middle of the sea. And Vimes has to deal with external stuff, not just City Watch stuff, but external politics. And this is kind of continued in Fifth Elephant as well. Not the same storyline, but Vimes dealing with external politics now. But yeah, I really like the City Watch books. They are fun and they strangely punch you in the head sometimes of just like, oh, by the way, here's this really deep concept just kind of thrown out as a pun. And you're like, wait, what just happened? What? It was a lot of fun. Okay, cool. It was just me, you, and K Fox for the thingy thing. I did not finish Fifth Elephant. I am like 50 pages in, all right? You said like 50 pages, so I got like 52. And it feels like there's whatever. Yeah, so going back, let's do some more Tchaikovsky. Have I talked about Tchaikovsky yet today? No. Okay. This is the first Tchaikovsky of the day. Dogs of War by Adrian Tchaikovsky. This, first of all, you must know that Rex is a good boy. And that is the only thing you need to know about this book. Not really. I really liked this book. I read this on the way to Dragonsteel. Plug that I went to Dragonsteel. It was a lot of fun. And this was a great book just to read through on the plane up there because I had 10 hours of flying and waiting. Really short book. It's about Rex, who is a biomechanical creation of a corporation, and it talks about personhood, about what, okay, cool, humans built these things. What does it mean to be, have rights and stuff like that? So he is bred for war, and it deals with, okay, like there's literally a court, like there's a court session for the International Court of Law or whatever in this book, kind of talking about, like, okay, cool, could we try this person for XYZ and stuff is like this. It's really engaging, and Rex is a good boy, and that's all you need to know. The third one, B Speaker, comes out next year, and hopefully by then I will have read Bearhead at least. Or hey, it's not next year, it's this year. It is, I don't remember. It's like July of this year, I think. But I'm gonna get caught up with Bearhead and that so I can read B Speaker because there's some interesting ways the story is going, which is gonna be really interesting. Did I say interesting enough? Next up, we have Lords of Uncreation, the third in a series. Here, um, we'll put this here. I think I had more. I had a lot more feelings about this. So, um, Lords of Uncreation is the third book in the Final Architecture series. You don't see the other ones because we read the first two really early on last year, and then Anitha decided to go into a slump because of Claudius the God, and then eventually has started clawing her way out of it. And during this clawing the way out of it, she has read Lords of Uncreation, which was fantastic. The motley crew in this book is amazing, right? We have a crab accountant, we have a lawyer that loves knives, in the sense that they were very much part of their culture growing up. We have Idris, who is our depressed magic unspace man. We have Solus, who is the perfections of perfectly genetically created person, from the perfectly genetically created nation. And then we have Ollie, who is just the best. We have Ollie, who has a chip on her shoulder because she has no legs or arms ish. Um, and then she can, because of that, she has metal. It's crazy. Ollie is amazing. So yes, yeah, definitely, it was an Ethan decision to go into a slump, of course. Yeah, I really, this is a great example of alien understanding. Just everything that Tchaikovsky does with, like, okay, cool, let's get you to understand these things instead of instinctively reacting to them and being like, unothering the other, if you want to call it that way. So that was really fun. Go read Final Architecture. Really fun series, really fun motley crew, and fate of the universe type of deal. Saturation Point by Adrian Tchaikovsky. What if sweating could kill you? This is a lot of fun. I'll put this at Warm Fuzzies. This is a nice idea book about people going in. Basically, it's global warming, and the biggest part about global warming is that everything gets more humid here in the tropics. I'm not in the tropics, of course, but the tropics get more humid, and eventually humans who do not cool down very well when it is humid out just walk in and die. So they have to go in with suits and stuff like that. So yeah, this is very much a scientist going back to the tropics in the place that she could die in if she didn't have a suit on. I think it was a she. And mysteries. Yeah, this is a novella. It was fun. It was one of his, I think it's Strange Worlds Destinations. I don't know. Eventually there's going to be a bind up with three of them in it with this one in it. But stay tuned for that. Heretic by Nathan. Crap, what's his name? Um, the Heretic. Nathan something. Book. Runes and Ruin. It's not Nathan. It's Alan. Oh, wait. Is it Nathan Allen? It's Nathan Allen. There we go. The Heretic by Nathan Allen. I just realized you guys watched me type all that. So, where is this? I'll put this. That's there. So this is a self-published book. This is actually a review copy that I need to actually like put out a Goodreads review or something for. So, first thoughts. Yes, you absolutely do the rogue. You do. Sweating could kill you. In this one, I don't know. It's more about overheating than anything. Saturation point. So, the Heretic. Let's talk about the Heretic and get back to the Heretic. This is about a dude who is very smart with the runes, right? There's this magical like rune writing magic that's cool. And he is drafted by his rebel leader of a father who lives on a ship in cover to get trained in this elite fighting school, essentially. I won't say special forces because it tries. So he has to go and he has to break in and figure out this specific rune technique that they use that the big bad evil mages use. Priests, they're like fire priests essentially. That they use to keep everybody out of their stuff, and they haven't been able to break it before. So he also only has like half an arm, which is really interesting. Interesting half of the time. So I thought this was a lot of fun. I didn't have any like super, I don't know, huge criticisms of it outside of the fact that it feels like he kind of forgot he only had one arm in a lot of places when he was writing. I'm like, wouldn't like training with a bow staff be hard with one arm? Just a thought. Yeah, that's kind of that. But it's a pretty thick book as it is. So if that's what you decide to cut out, that's what you decide to cut out. We're not really expand on. I think I wanted, this is another ones where like, yay, young protagonist is he stupid? Is he smart? Not sure. I think we spent too much time with the protagonist's thoughts for him to be seen as smart. And there were definitely some times where I was like, I figured this out from like the second I laid eyes on this character, and you took 3 months to actually think about this. Okay. But that's the uber logical the logical reader fallacy, I think is what I call it. I had some issues with that, but what was fun about it? I liked the magic system. I liked the investigation that he kind of goes through. I do think that he's really creative about like figuring out how to solve his problems and narrating that and going through all that and seeing how he solves the problems is really cool. Hi, I'm not a spy, but I'm figuring out how to be a spy while I'm in this super dangerous situation. That was actually really fun. Yeah, it was a lot of fun. Um, yeah, I still don't know what you're trying to ask with the shot. Cool. Let's go on to Glenn Cook. We're gonna do Bleak Seasons first. Bleak Seasons. We're gonna go here. I think Bleak Seasons is the first book in the Glittering Stone Quartet. Follows up on Books to the South. This is the first book where we have a different narrator, a different analyst for the books. In a good old man whose name starts with an M. And this was very focused on him. This is very much focused on everything that he's going through in this battle, and the family trauma and the issues that he's dealing with, And I liked I think the biggest thing about this book that I liked was the weird timeline hopping weirdness. Like you would go to one time, like current day, and then you'd pop back, and then you'd pop a little bit farther, but not quite as far. Like it was very much like you have to piece together the narrative in a very interesting way. So that was a lot of fun. She is the Darkness goes somewhere up in Big Feelings. Not sure where. Do I want it over that? Feet of Clay. Now let's put it at the bottom. Okay, so bottom of Big Feelings. She is the Darkness hit a lot more for me, partially because of the ending. I think it's definitely another sense of just like, oh, I see how everything was kind of leading up to this a little bit. And we got back to we got closer to Croker again. Good old buddy Croker in this book. And you know you miss him, right? He's away for a book or two, and you miss him. So that is why this was a little bit better for me. And then, of course, getting to the ending of this book was really impactful because it's like been this build up for like the last 4 books. So it was great. Yeah, and that's completely different from what's going on in Saturation Point because Saturation Point is like the opposite of Dune. It's like, okay, cool. It's so hot and it's so humid that you literally can't sweat or that your sweat can't evaporate. And because your sweat can't evaporate, you can't cool off. I did finish Bleak Seasons in 2024. I finished all of them except I finished She is the Darkness in 2024. You are. You absolutely are. Yep, there's the thing, sort of. Not a book, first book of the different analyst teams of Steel. Oh, you're right. Because a little bit of it was recaps. Oopsies. Anyways, that was wrong. So, yeah. I am continuing with Black Company because, of course, I am way too far in to stop now, even if I hated it. But I didn't. I do really like Black Company, and I'm excited to finish the last 2 books in like January, February timeframe, right? So we're going to have Water Sleeps and Soldiers Live. And then eventually I'll read Port of Shadows with Evie, and then the new Black Company book comes out this year, which is going to be great. Chop, chop. I am very close to the end. Shush, Anitha. You just don't want us to shame you. Hello, Derry. How's it going? No Robin Hobb books, but hey, we might get a Robin Hobb book this year. It'd be great. Lies Weeping. Yes. It's going to be fun. I never expected to be around when another Black Company book dropped, but here we are. Pompeii by Robert Harris. So this book was a lot of fun. Another book that was a lot of fun. I say that phrase a lot. I need to expand my vocabulary. So this book is surprisingly doesn't take place in Pompeii for a significant portion of it. There's a bunch of it that takes place down the coast of Pompeii, at least in the beginning. And then near the end, it feels like a lot of it just doesn't take place in Pompeii. So like the middle bit is Pompeii. And yeah, it's kind of like a political thriller all centered around the fact that, oh yeah, by the way, Pompeii is about to erupt. And another thing that happens, the main character is the keeper of the water. I don't remember the actual phrase for it. That's not the right phrase. He is the dude that takes care of the aqueducts. And I wanted more aqueduct just explaining and talking about it. I just wanted KJ Parker to write a nonfiction essay about aqueducts. That'd be great. But that is not the case. So, it's really interesting how he wove in the fact that this eruption of Mount Vesuvius was kind of foreshadowed by the fact that, you know, the water was cut off at some point because of a shifting of the earth, essentially. And this one aqueduct dude just being like, hey, I need to go fix it, and trying to get over the political hoops and bounds to get to the point where he could fix it, essentially. So that was really cool. And then kind of the ending was really good, and there was weirdness with the romance going on that I was like, okay, Romans. But that's how that was fun. We're gonna put this. That wasn't big feelings. We'll put this there. There we go. Yeah, exactly. Going postal. I didn't do going postal this year. Going postal was the end of last year. Um, okay, or Denitha, you're the same people. Vesuvius was about to erupt. Pompeii about to get obliterated. It's true. I am not a serial killer, so I read this. This is definitely going in big feelings. Where do I want this? This was a lot of fun. No, stop. Yeah, that seems right. That feels right. That's a vibe. So, I Am Not a Serial Killer by Dan Wells is about a teenage sociopath and him discovering that there's a serial killer in his town and struggling mentally. Like, this is a sociopath who's like, "Ugh, I was meant to be a serial killer" type of child. But like a self-aware like type of that where he's just like, I could be a serial killer. I really could, but I don't want to be a serial killer. Hence the I am not a serial killer stuff, right? And then a serial killer pops up in his town, and there's a bit of a twist, and I think it's really easy to get spoiled on that twist. But it's, I don't know. I knew about the twist going in, right? It happens about midway through the book, and I just loved this. I loved his just like analytical thought process of going through this, and I loved how self-aware he was. I loved that his mother was very much just like, yeah, I kind of know you're a sociopath and I'm going to try to support you, right? It was a very supportive and loving mother-son relationship, and that was a lot of fun. Also, his mother is a person that preps the bodies for the funeral home. There's a word for that. I don't know. A lot of fun. Yeah. What's debatable? Um, Hey, Happy New Year, James. Yeah, time is really weird, Derry. I understand. But going postal was indeed last year. So yeah, I'm not a serial killer. Lot of fun, lot of good relationships and characters. I have two more of them, which I actually bought and got signed at Dragonsteel. That I'm looking forward to reading. It's gonna be a lot of fun. TMNT. This is another. This is a nothing significant. This is the fourth volume of the IDW run of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. I got through the first three volumes early in the year and then kind of like piecemeal read this one, which is a big contributor to why the fact I didn't really feel anything significant about it. I do want to read more of them because I want to get to Last Ronin, which I actually have the physical copy of, as well as the electronic copy of. I got them through like a humble bundle thing, which is a lot cheaper than buying the individual physical copies. So it's a combination of electronic and piecemeal that kind of put it here for me. Um, Days of Shattered Faith. Big feelings. Mortician, thank you. Um, I did. So, Days of Shattered Faith. I finished this. This was literally the book that I read leading up to New Year's. This is the last book I finished right before, like a few hours before New Year's happened. Again, Tchaikovsky, Tyrant Philosophers, loved it. This is a book about death. It was not what I thought going into it, right? So I kind of screwed myself expectations wise with reading some of the blurbs. I'm going to go back and look at some of those blurbs and be like, how accurate was this? Because I thought it was going to be a romance between two necromancers, and I talked about it like that. And I'm sorry if that was your impression going into it, people. This is kind of like a dark mirror of City of Last Chances in its own way, like a reverse to it. City of Last Chances is about a city coming together and starting a revolution, sort of. But a revolution happening in this city that is occupied by the Pals. This book is the reverse. You have a city that is independent from the Pals, the Palestine Empire, which is trying to bring perfection through the temporary commission of ends and means to the rest of the world. And the resident, who is kind of like the ambassador to the city, is like kind of wavering in her faith of the Palestine Empire for a number of different reasons, some of them romantically involved. And there is this weight of inevitability to everything, right? Because the romantic partner for her is the heir to the throne, who has an elder brother who is disinherited. And their father is very old. And the book feels like a bit of a slow to start. And there's some characters from the previous books that I took a second to be like, oh, I know these are who they are, and trying to figure them out. But once it gets going, there's just this weight of an inevitability to it, this inevitability of decline that is really powerful. And just like these terrible things happen, and you're dealing with the ball slowly rolling downhill till these things happen. And I think that part of the book is really powerfully done. I would say that House of Open Wounds still stays my favorite of this series, just because I felt like it was punch after punch and it kept going throughout the entire thing. And I think that them having characters from House of Open Wounds, while they did well with those characters, while Tchaikovsky did well with those characters, it felt like it took away from this book. So House of Open Wounds had one character from City of Last Chances carry over, technically two, but part of the charm of the first two books is definitely, for me, the discovery of all of these new characters and the exploration of them. And I feel like the inclusion of so many characters from House of Open Wounds kind of took away that discovery of some of the other characters. So it kind of gave it kind of like half hanging out with other people, but half discovering new characters. So that's where we're going. I'm very sorry, Evie, but that's where it is. I'm very sorry. Part Gothic, part political fantasy. Yes. So the romance is not the focus of the book. I thought it was. And there's more than one, of course. Yes, they were secondary, but I just felt like the attention spent on them took away from the discovery of the new characters a little bit. For me, I do think that just the weight of just the ball rolling down the hill sense of inevitability, right? I got that in Days of Shattered Faith. I got that in Pompeii. I don't know if there's any other ones that I got that from this year, but both I do really like that sense of inevitability when it pops up in things. Badoom, badoom. Glad to put words to feelings. And finally, we have the last one, Wind and Truth by Brandon Sanderson. No, it's not going all the way down there. That would be terrible. No. We're going to put it here. I feel like that. Look, I'm sorry. Your Shattered Faith and my days. I have to keep people guessing. That's what it is. I feel like I would have liked Days of Shattered Faith better if I had read it back to back. So, let's go back to Wind and Truth and do this final book. This very final book. 2 minutes before Anitha has to leave. Yeah, if I gave stars, that'd be there. That'd definitely be there. I'm sorry for you, but my disappointment in you having to leave early also knows no bounds. Anitha. What? I'm sorry? What? What is confusing, Derry? I need to know. Let's talk about Wind and Truth while we get back, and then eventually get back to these people. Wind and Truth, easy, just amazing. I loved it. Am I a Sanderson shill? Kind of. Am I going to love everything he puts out? No, because I think there's a lot of really good criticisms about Wind and Truth. Was it a perfect book? No, absolutely not. Did I still love the ending? Did I love a lot of the explorations of character that he did? Yeah. I do think that a lot of them were probably more shallow than I would have expected. And I'm not sure if that's because I've grown as a reader or Sanderson has fallen as a writer. So that's an interesting thing. I think Wind and Truth was very cluttered, but I still really loved it. I love the sorry, the what for Days of Shattered Faith? Yeah, evidently, according to Evie and Anitha, it's a hot take. But or are we talking about Wind and Truth? That Wind and Truth was fantastic? Yeah, that can be a hot take, sort of, right now. It's wild that that is a hot take, but it is. I'm not going to rest on that, though. I love the resolution. I love the Cosmere connections because I love the implications of all of that. I I've heard a lot of criticisms about like it not being as much of an ending as people wanted it to be, right? Because there's a lot of stuff that still went open. This is one of the things where I purposely tempered my expectations for that. That was one thing that I specifically addressed within myself, within my mind, of just like, look, it's not going to be a super conclusive ending because it is only book 5 of a series, right? And I don't think Sanderson stressed that enough. And there's definitely a lot of confusion between like, hey, there's Mistborn eras and there's a Stormlight arcs. And then it doesn't help when Sanderson literally called it Stormlight Era 1 for a hot second. And I was like, bro, stop mixing these things up. Anyways. And there's a bunch of other things like the modern terms that he used. I was like, come on, dude. Like it's interesting how much I agree with a bunch of criticisms, but I still really loved the book. I still had, some big emotions. Maybe not as big as some of the other books. Maybe not as and I definitely have like some structural issues about like, hey, how Sanderson could have made this book better. Still loved it though. Like I can't say that I didn't really, really love this book. So yeah. That's what I read. That's my tier list for the last 6 months of 2024. I will be putting out a top 10-ish books video eventually. I have to film it. I probably should go off and film what I need to for it now, considering I have a bunch of the stuff set up. But we will see. Yeah, I'll probably have to look at the audio first. But thank you, everybody, for coming. Everybody shame Anitha for having left early 2 minutes ago because she decided to go pick up books from the library instead of finishing 2 more minutes of this stream. Yes, Le Guin has definitely been like a huge new favorite for this year with her sci-fi. No, you're not. You're off. You went to the library. Stop. We're soiled by on what's in New Face and Big Feelings. But I said I was going to shame you, so I will. Yeah, now we're going to shame you because she's having to run before I actually hit end the stream. Yeah. It is very hard for something to get into the bottom tier. Mostly, I think I talked about this a little bit on Alan's stream last night, but it is very hard. Like I cultivate what I read so much in terms of like listening to things a lot about what I'm gonna like. I don't know. I just select the books that I'm gonna read really well. Like I don't know if that's like, oh my gosh, but I think, yeah. Honestly, I did DNF some books, so I might just do that next time. So if we want to talk about Nero, what? I did DNF Nero. So this is the thing, is if I DNF a book, this probably means it would have been in It Exists tier. Claudius the God? Question mark? Spoiled by New Fave and Big Feelings. Spoiled or disappointed? But yeah. Yeah, I do have like some really good ones that I like. Cool. So I'm gonna wrap this up. I hope the rest of you have a great rest of your day. I'm not gonna clap again, but make sure to get some rest because rest is super, super important with all of this. And I really hope that the rest of your year, the rest of 2025 is really great for your guys' readings. And I will see you guys later. Bye.